Welcome to Summer Veg Fritters. These are super tasty. They're going to take you less than 15 minutes to make. They'll serve 4 people, and we went shopping just in SuperValu and it cost us slightly less than €5. So they're really cheap and packed full of veg. Make a great appetizer, make a great cold lunch, and a lovely dinner served with your grain of choice. First step you're going to need is a food processor. We're going to use a food processor to grate our vegetables just because it's quicker, but obviously if you want to do it at home with a box grater, just do that instead. Okay, boom, as soon as we've grated the courgette, I'm gonna pop them. I've literally got a colander just over a pot here, and we're gonna salt our courgettes, really just to release some of the extra moisture to them, which is gonna help them bind together. Courgette's a great summer vegetable. And courgette is high in water, and water when you fry it stops browning and caramelization. So we wanna kind of evaporate or pull out as much moisture as we can. So I'm taking a generous pinch of salt, going through the courgette, giving it a nice little stir. And we're going to leave it sit, and then we give it a squeeze just before we add them to the rest. Next step, we're going to soak our flax egg. Might sound weird to those of you who aren't familiar with it, but in essence it's an egg replacer that functions as a binder. So I have 3 tablespoons of ground flaxseed. You'll be able to find them in SuperValu. They'll come milled. Just pop them down there. I'm going to put in 9 tablespoons of water. So that's a 1-to-3 ratio, so 1 part ground flax to 3 part water. So with a flax egg, just give it a nice stir, and we're gonna leave it sit for about 3 to 4 minutes. And what's gonna happen is it's gonna coagulate, fancy term for come together, and end up real gloopy and function as a binder, similar to an egg. Okay, so now we're gonna grate the rest of our vegetables. I'm using the food processor, as I said, but use a box grate if you don't have it. I've got 1 onion, I've simply peeled it, and I'm gonna grate it. So we have 1 kilo of new potatoes. We're gonna pop them in and just grate them too. They're gonna function as the starch and the main body of our dish. Okay, boom, we've grated all our vegetables. Now it's time to actually salt our onion and potato as well. So we're just gonna pour in our chopped or grated potato and our onion. We're gonna add a nice generous pinch of salt, similarly to last time. And I'm just gonna spread that through, and I'm trying to really squeeze out as much moisture as I can. You'd be surprised how much moisture is in an L, good Irish sport. Okay, so we squeezed our vegetables, and look, you'd be surprised, look at the amount of moisture that came out.
Good 100
So that's
mil.
a huge amount. So what that moisture means, instead of our fritters kind of boiling, they're actually gonna fry nicely.
Okay, so we've got loads of grated veg. I'd say it's about 1 kilo to 1.5 kilos of grated vegetables.
In on top, we're gonna add our peas. We've about
250 grams of frozen peas. I've literally left them thaw.
We're gonna add in our flax egg now. You can see that it's really come together almost like the same consistency as an egg. It's very gloopy, and this will really serve as the binder. In that goes. I'm gonna go in with about 4 tablespoons of flour. So we went 4 heaped tablespoons of flour. Again, what that's gonna do is that's gonna, any remaining moisture on the surface area of the veg, it's gonna dry that up and make it easier to brown and to crisp up.
I'm gonna go in with a pinch of garlic powder, probably like a teaspoon.
Okay, we're gonna go with zest of half a lemon. Get a microplane or the small part of a box grater and just grate it in. Just obviously don't grate your fingers.
Okay, so you can take the wooden spoon and mix it all together, but personally I much prefer to use my hands. I'm gonna take my hands and really bring this all together.
Just a little final season of our veg, just a nice little pinch of salt.
Okay, so we've got a flat bottomed non-stick pan. We're gonna pop it on a high heat, and we're gonna start frying these little fellas.
Okay, once the pan is nice and warm, just hold your hand above it, it should feel nice and hot. I'm gonna add in a decent covering of oil, so approximately 1.5 tablespoons, because it really is important that they start to crisp up so they hold their body together. So just pass the oil around so ensuring there's a good coating throughout the pan.
And we're literally gonna start adding them in.
Try to keep them more on the flat side as opposed to thick and chunky. So they've taken about 3 minutes each side, and it's really important not to flip them until they start to brown and go solid. So, you know, I try to use a silicone spatula, use whatever you have.
One top tip which I'd love to mention now is that if your mix is actually still quite wet, we only added 4 tablespoons of flour, but depending on the potato or the courgette that you use, you might need to add a few more tablespoons of flour. Just make sure that it does start to come together a little bit. So top tip for how to pimp up your fritters is to put some kind of a hummus or pesto on top of it. Personally, we love our sweet beet hummus because it gives that kind of pink, gives a great contrasted color.
So any type of dip or choice just goes lovely on the top. It just makes it more multi-dimensional, adds more flavor and adds more richness.
Or finally, a basil pesto goes really well too. It just adds that kind of sense of party to it and makes the dinner really nice and kind of tactile and interactive. So I guess next step, it's really either use a fork or you go straight
I
in.
need to go just straight up.
And get into your hands and oh, it's banging. Banging full of flavour, really, really is.
They're lovely, they're light, they're summery when served with.
They're lovely. Is that all right?
Okay, they're lovely, they're light, they're summery, there's a little bit of that lemon zest coming through, and when served with your various dip of choice, such as the pesto and hummus, it adds a real richness and satiation to it.
If you do grow potatoes or courgettes or know someone that does and is looking for something to do with them, these are banging. They're super tasty, they're quick, they're easy, and there's such a good taste of summer. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of this channel. We really do appreciate it. And if you do make them, leave a comment down below. Cheers!